It's a TGI Friday here on Squawk Box Asia. Now, the weak Japanese yen, a big reason that visitors have flocked to Japan in droves in the last year. But June, though, that was a slightly different story, a bit of a dip and a plunge from some jurisdictions. The reason for that is, well, kind of unusual, as Lin and Monica Pitrelli have been finding out. Take it away.
Yeah, indeed. This has been a very popular water cooler story in recent months. And just to give our viewers some background as well, it all stems from this Japanese manga, or in other words, a Japanese comic book, which was released all the way back in 1999. It was called The Future I Saw, and we do have a cover which we can show our viewers as well. There it is. And when the book was released, it was described as a bit of a dream journal, and it wasn't very popular. It kind of came and with very little fanfare. But after the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan, people started to pick it up because in the manga, it did predict that there would be a great disaster happening in March 2011. And then in the months of this year, really, we've seen this book going completely viral on social media, whether that's TikTok, whether it's Xiaohongshu, YouTubers were talking about it at length. And that's because in the original book and then also in the 2021 reprint, of which there was additional information added, this author had made this prophetic dream of a disaster happening in July of this year. And so we've seen, and Monica will talk more to this point, that there was an impact in terms of traveller numbers during a couple of these months in certain jurisdictions. And just to give this story more legs as well, because we have the fiction here, which is the book, clearly, of course, but also this is coming at a time when Japan is facing heightened alertness, right, around the earthquake situation, with the government warning back in August of last year as well that there could be this megaquake happening in the next 30 years or so. This is in the Nankai Trough region, and we have a map which we can show our viewers as well, which is supposed to affect the southern part of the country, and it's predicted as a worst case scenario by the government that it could cause up to 300,000 deaths and also tsunami waves of up to 20 to 30 meters tall. And let me just add another wrinkle, because of course this week we've seen this earthquake that happened, a pretty significant earthquake off the coast of Russia as well. And that's also spurred people on social media to connect the dots, even though it's worth noting there as well that the book talks about the earthquake happening between Japan and the Philippines rather than where it happened, which was, you know, closer to Russia and would have affected as well the upper side, so the northern side of Japan as well. But Monica, why don't you tell us about what have we seen in terms of the travel numbers?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I first heard about this in May, and one of the reporters on our team approached me about this, and I underestimated the impact that this book would have. I thought, I don't really know if this is something we'll go with at this point.
It's just a comic book, right?
Exactly. How much could this really affect? Well, now we have some numbers. Now, we started to see some arrivals drop in May, but nothing like we saw in June. Now, remember, the prediction is for July. So the June, folks, this is conservative to cancellations. But the biggest cancellations we saw came out of Hong Kong. We saw a drop in arrivals of 33%. That's compared to arrivals from last year. Now, note, though, arrivals to Japan continuously going up across almost every single jurisdiction. So to have a drop is sudden and really kind of strange.
But 33% is a plunge, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a plunge. And so we also saw a couple of other countries falling into negative territory. Thailand, which was up about 11%, averaging this year, suddenly in negative territory. Same from Philippines. We saw incredible growth slow down from China. So if we could put that one graph up that has China, you could say, oh, well, look, arrivals in June from China still up 20%. What's bad about that? Well, look at the numbers from Jan to May. Arrivals were coming at an increase of 63%. So you see the delta between the growth before June and June numbers is big for Taiwan, South Korea. So we also additionally saw some dip in Australia, interestingly, as well.
And I guess, looking at some of these countries, they're all Asia side. Do we see any kind of differential in terms of trends between the rest of the world and Asia?
That's what makes these numbers stand out even more so, because we continue to see double-digit growth from many places around the world, including India, the US, much of Western Europe, the Middle East, and Russia. In fact, Russians to Japan in June doubled, so a more than 100% increase. So everybody else still going. Apparently that either didn't get the word or doesn't care potentially about the manga prediction.
So the broad trend is still in place, right? I mean, visitor arrivals in Japan on a monthly basis are at record levels still. About 4 million people every month, right, arrive in Japan. But the plunge you talked about, Mon, 33% visitors from Hong Kong specifically. This is apparently, Lynn, the place where this whole manga really went viral.
Yeah, and I spoke with one of the travel agents that specializes in Japan travel out in Hong Kong as well. And he basically said to me, look, we've never experienced something like this before, because in the past, you've had travelers really reacting to a disaster happening already and then planning after the fact. But this time, it's travelers, it's seeming like, in his view, reacting to something that they think will happen. This is pretty unprecedented. Let's take a listen to what CNUN of WWPKG had to say.
All the years after a disaster occurs. But this time it's different because nothing happened, actually. It's only rumors or prophecies, so-called, right? And we never experienced from that. So we don't know, how long it's going to take to the market's going to recover, or when people will start stop worrying.
Yeah, and so we've seen both this particular travel agency and others in Hong Kong heavily discounting as well, giving sort of earthquake insurance and so forth as well, to try and encourage travelers to come back.
It didn't really help that much, huh? Even with heavy discounting and insurance. So I got to ask, right? I mean, it seems to suggest that, modern Hong Kongers, people who live and work and travel out of or from modern day cosmopolitan Hong Kong, one of the big Chinese cities now, they're still very superstitious, sounds like.
Yeah, and I think Mon spoke to some people about this that can bring in some of these insights in terms of the psychology here.
And so we published a story today on CNBC.com that has more details about this. And in it, we spoke to some sources, like why does this have the legs that some other people simply don't understand? We can see the belief in social media, where people get their news from. We know that is a big thing in many parts of Asia. Also, if you read manga, if you don't know what this is, you probably are more likely to discount it. But the third aspect that we heard from a source is saying the collectivist nature of many Asian societies could result in somebody that says, I don't really think this is going to happen, but maybe some of the feedback you get from your community, from your peers, may be enough to simply postpone your trip. And that's the other thing. Japan right now, so hot. A lot of people are going more than once a year. So you go, okay, well, maybe I won't go in July. Perhaps I'll go in October. So we could, there's a lot of things that could be happening. And then the final thing I'll say here, the fact that travel is so easy to cancel these days. That's a COVID offshoot. It is no longer, you're risking losing thousands, usually. People can easily cancel, easily book, easily get out of your plan. So if you even had some proclivity, you might be likely just to postpone your trip.
I mean, I got to say, October is probably a better time of year to visit Japan, as well as cooler. I just got back, 2 days ago from Tokyo. It's, for Japan, it's like 32 degrees out there in Tokyo. So it is hot in that sense, too, physically.
Absolutely.
Right now.
And I did speak to a colleague of ours that was in Japan, and she said, she goes often, and she said there was a noticeable drop in people in early in July. And, potentially that could have helped a little bit for the people that did go, because Japan is also suffering some over-tourism issues, especially in Kyoto and Osaka.
Yeah, they could do with a bit of a cool down, I think, the poor Japanese from all those tourists, right? I mean, it's oppressive, the heat, 32 degrees and almost full humidity as well, saturation. All right, really interesting stuff. Thanks, guys.